Hello guys, and welcome to a new video in which we will build an actual agent using Relevance AI. So we've partnered up with Relevance to bring the AI no-code tool editor to you. I'm going to kind of divulge all the details and then we're going to connect the dots looking backwards. So if you look here, we're going to be using one of these templates that are already made. So we're going to start with some training wheels and then we're going to take them off periodically so you can understand what we're doing and also learn better. So this is one of the templates and we're going to use the pre-meeting prepper, which is right here. And this is what the instructions look like. So previously I mentioned the tool usage, like an AI agent is something that can use certain tools to run certain commands. So basically we are giving it access to some tools and also giving a prompt on what it should be doing. So we're not coding the whole thing out. On the back end, it's kind of making those decisions on itself using an LLM, as I basically told. But the tool that we're using is Google Search, get personal profile from LinkedIn, use a knowledge, which is not a tool, but more of it in later. You can use some sort of knowledge database because LLMs are not trained on your knowledge, right? We'll talk about that. And then it basically sends an email via Gmail. Another thing which I forgot to mention is basically when this runs. So this runs whenever there is a Google Sheet entry. So if you get an Google Sheet entry in Google Sheets, you specify which Google Sheets, we'll go over all of this, you get a customized email. So here you can see that a particular Google Sheet was entered with the name Annie Liao. So the reason it's a Google Sheet, it's a very it's kind of like a blank space, whatever it could be. It could be an input to a HubSpot, it could be like a Typeform form, it could be an Airtable, it could be a Slack message, anything. We'll talk about what triggers are, but in the end you can see that these are the meeting notes. So if I want to meet Annie Liao, I will have like a rough idea of what they're doing. And there was one where it basically gives you their LinkedIn activity as well. You can customize based on the prompt, but it can also give you each post they made in the last month, things like that. So we're gonna get rid of the Slack outbound and the trigger as a test because this is using Slack, which not everyone has, and email is a more common way of doing this. So that's just a personal decision. And the Google Calendar, I'm replacing from Google Sheets. So let's kind of go back to Relevance. There we go. I pay you the compliment of knowing how to sign in. It's a very simple process. So I want you to go into templates right here, and then we're going to create the pre-meeting prepper. Okay. So let's kind of look at a little bit of these things. I'll talk a little bit about the main UI as well, but here you have two options. One is the build. This is where the prompt that you saw is going to be built, and this is where you're going to be running them, right? Running the agent. So let's kind of go a little bit back. So right here. So these are all the agents I've made. And this is going to be where the agent shows up. There are tools, knowledge, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Okay, so basically the Slack account, it says it's missing. So normally you can just basically add an account for Slack. It shouldn't be a problem. But you can see I've already added my Gmail for like a burner account for different mail and Google Sheets. So what I'm going to do is I'm just basically going to cross this out and I'm going to just get rid of this. Okay, and then I'm going to get rid of this trigger as well. Okay, so basically it will look at the attendee and then it will search their LinkedIn. So I'm just going to save the changes here. Currently it only has two tools. We'll look at Google Sheets and the other ones later. So I'm going to say Annie Liao. So you can see it's doing the pre-meeting prepper. We don't have to do anything. So just give it a minute. It will look into this. And then it searches for the LinkedIn tool, which was a tool. And then here basically I say look at the 4 jobs, 4 last jobs. Yeah. And now it's prepping something. Okay, there we go. So it got the recent posts, whatever those were. And then these are basically the themes for LinkedIn, and this is who the person is. Yeah, and key takeaways. So if you want to kind of add a little bit something particular, like I want to talk about EdTech and the recent partnerships. Can you talk more about those? So when you run this in the prompt, it would think about how the template should be, and then it will give you those things when you run it. So make sure to save the changes. So I'm just gonna get rid of the Slack tool, and we're gonna start adding more things. So yeah, so this was just basically creating a rough agent. You can kind of add other Google searches as well, like if there is something, search all the companies Annie's mentioned and things like that. But here is the basic start. So yeah, so this was our first agent, and in the next unit, what we're going to be talking about is triggers, how to trigger this automatically. Currently we're using just the chat, but there's multiple ways to trigger this. So I'll see you there.